Da-da-da-da-da. All right. Screen with you. Here real quick. All right. Here we are. All right. So this right here is our summary lesson. This is pretty much it for the present tense that we've been covering for the last couple of weeks. In this lesson, you're going to go over everything that we've learned about the present tense. It's going to talk more about, the markers, the indicators, the actual signs, the letters for the root, and so forth and so on. Also, too, what we're going to do is I'm going to go over a couple of different examples with you. And we're going to go over those things and looking for some identifying signs. So we're going to do that just to kind of keep everybody sharp. I know we've taken last week off, and sometimes you can miss some things, especially when you're not in it all the time. So don't feel bad if you don't understand it or don't know it, because it just takes time. That's just what it is. But it's letting us know that the present tense can be used in one of two ways. It can be used either as something happening right now, or it could be something that has already happened according to the narrative in the Torah, right? So when we're talking to someone, everything that's written in the Torah, when it was happening present tense, it was happening in that tense. It was happening at that time. It took place thousands of years ago. So it's not something that's actually happening right now. But there are some things, I want to be clear about this. Even though there's some things that are written thousands of years ago, when the Most High speaks in the present tense, everyone, like literally, that means that it's happening now. He says, I'm creating shalom. I'm creating present tense evil. I'm creating present right now. I'm creating a new heavens and a new earth. And so when we think about, he's creating a new heavens and earth, I thought he was done in 6 days and rested on the seventh day. The Most High is in the process in his span of creation, which includes eternity, meaning everything that Yah has done, he's already set it. Okay, is set, S-E-T, is set. So everything that's going to play out is going to play out exactly the way that he said it. Okay, so everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen, and there's nothing that anybody could do to stop it. That's why he's always bragging about, I've done these things, and haven't I told you this before? Haven't I told you this a long time ago? Didn't I tell you that I was going to do this? Didn't I tell you I was going to do that? Didn't I let you know? And he's letting you know that the only Elohim that's ever done that is him. That's why he's always asking, go ask your gods, because they can't give an answer because they don't exist. Okay, so in our present tense, even though it happened thousands of years ago, it can literally mean happening right now. Okay, so we're not looking at this just as a story. The Torah for us is not a story, it's about living. When he talks about guarding, he said it thousands of years ago. But he says, I want you to continue to guard the Torah and guarding the Shabbat, listening to what I'm saying. Okay, there are 4 ways of using. So one is to make it, and the other one is to use it. So we're going to talk about those 4 ways of using it. We've already been over this before. The 4 different ways that they're talking about using the present tense, okay, because you got to use it in a certain way, is going to be, put my little pen here. It's going to be in these 4 different ways right here, okay? One way is when speaking about one man. One way is when speaking about one woman. Another way would be speaking about many men, and the other one is about many women, okay? So they're telling you all the different letters that's added to it. And so, like one here for the men, single man, there won't be anything added to the root because it's perfect. Okay. When you're talking about one single woman, this is what they're going to add on the end of that root. So remember, these are just pieces to your puzzle. This right here is im. So this is going to tell you that that's plurality of many more than one man. And of course, oath is the feminine ending. So we see that these endings are used all the time, okay? So it's not nothing new for us. So we understand that. But these endings could be on a noun as well, like banim, meaning sons. Okay. It could be on a noun and it could be on a verb. It could be on a verb that's in a future tense. It could be in the past tense. It could be in all these different ways. So we have to find out, how can I tell the difference between the past, the present, and of course the future? How could we be able to tell the difference, and what time frame, what tense are we in? The only way that you'll ever be able to tell the tense on something is looking at not just the endings, because that tells you the person and that tells you the gender and that tells you the number. Okay. But it doesn't tell you what tense it's in. What tells you what tense something is in is these other letters. So as you notice, you're giving you person, gender, number, right? This is person, gender, number. That's male, masculine, plural, right? Excuse me, did I say masculine, male, masculine? It's masculine, plural. How many persons? Many, more than one. What's the gender? Male. What's the number? Is it first person, second person, third person? See? So those are the things that you're looking for. When we're talking about present tense, we're talking about this letter. It could be this letter, or it could be another letter, or it could be, some other markings, some other identifying signs, which we're going to go over right quick. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to explain to you, is like when we talk about this, and it says there's only four ways of using this. These are the 4 ways. Okay. So don't get confused when it says 4 ways, because what is going on? In each one of these categories of one man, one woman, many men, many women, okay, there is 3 different possibilities that it could be. When you're dealing with a male, it could be I, which is first person. It could be, what else could it be?
It'd be they. You.
Second person. Or it could be him or it, third person. So in each one of these categories, you have a first person, second person, third person. Same for the female. It could be a first person, second person, third person. For the plurality here, it could be the first person, second person, third person. And the next one, first person, second person, third person. So that gives you a total of 12. Okay. And you can remember this by the children of Israel, because anytime I hear 12, I'm thinking about the children of Israel. So there's 4 ways, okay, which is masculine singular, feminine singular, masculine plural, and feminine plural. But within each one of those categories, you have to address whether that individual man is talking about himself, or someone else is talking to him, or in the third person, a group of people are talking about him, okay, talking about him. Or if I'm talking directly to you, or you can specify I as first person. That could still be a single person, because you could be singular just like it could be plural. Okay. Him is definitely singular and I is definitely singular. Okay. Does everyone understand that? Any questions? If not, and you hold them, we can still answer them. So don't feel like you can't ask. Okay. So even though each of these 7 forms of the verb has its own unique identifying sign, in the present tense, we learned that there are basically 3 ways of making, not using, making the present tense. So the 3 different ways that you can make something a present tense is by adding these 3 letters. Okay. So this letter can be in the middle. This letter can be in the front, and this letter would be in the front too. Okay. The noon here is used not only in the present tense, but the noon can actually be used in front of a root in the past tense and the future tense. So we'd have to be able to distinguish the difference between those things. But one thing that you can understand is that this wa right here with this, when it's in the middle of a word, after the first letter or the second letter, you know, oh, that's present tense. If it's at the end of the letter or the root, then you know, okay, well, that's not a present tense. That might just be describing him, an individual. Okay. So they're using nothing but letters as pieces to tell you a story. Okay. So you got to find out what it is. Then they have some information down there that you can look at. So let's look at it right quick. It says when the letter mem is added to the front of the root in the present tense, the mem is dotted the same way as the future tense letter. Okay, so again, the future tense letters can either be a few of them. So here's one future tense letter. Or once you tell me what's a future tense letter, what letters can I use? I'll put up I, you, him, her, we. Okay. So how do we know?
I is Aleph.
Yes. Okay. What's you? What's the piece? What's the piece of your puzzle?
The Tav.
Thank you. Okay. If it's a him for future tense, what letter would that be?
Yod.
Yod. Yod.
Thank you. Yod. Thank you. And her, what would that be?
Yod with a.
That will be that'll be a tav with the yod on
Oh,
the
you're the
end.
Yod. Yes.
Okay. And if it's a we, then it would be what? What letter?
Noon.
Thank you. And you can remember the noon because when you talk about the noon in a grammatical, I mean, in a agricultural way, you're talking about a seed. So that's what you can remember. That's why it's important to know the agriculture behind the language so you can put the pieces together. Okay. Because the him is the hand, it means possessive, right? So you got to look at that. Okay, when you talk about, first person, second person, third person. So it's always going to be first person, second person, third person. You always got to think about this. You got to be thinking of past, present, and future. First person, second person, male, masculine, feminine. Is it singular or plural? Those are the only thing, person, gender, number. That's all you have to know. Okay. When it comes to understanding how this verb and who's doing it, who's doing the action. Okay. Who's doing it is different than how it's being done. Okay. So this letter mem is letting us know that this is a future tense. So anytime you see this on front of a 3-letter root, you know this is a present tense. It's a present tense. Or what else can the mem be used for when it's added to the front of a root? As a preposition, it would be
From.
From. So the text would kind of let you know, you got to read it, right? But we have other clues that tell us about whether or not this is from a preposition versus it being a present tense. Okay. So without making it too confusing, is letting us know that this mem right here is dotted the same way as the added future tense letter. Future tense letter means if I had an aleph in front of something or a tav in front of a word or a root, or I have a noon in front of a root or a yod in front of it, if I have one dot under each one of these, that lets me know that it's in group number 1. If I have 2 dots, it lets me know that I'm in group number 2. If it has 3 dots, it lets me know I'm in group number 3. You see? So your groups are identified by their dots. So when we look at this right here, that's group number 2. And if we understand from what we've been learning over several weeks now or months, is that group number 1 is a very simple action. Group number 2 is a very forceful action. Okay. Group number 3 is a causative action. Group number 4 is a HIF-PyL, which is called a reflexive action. Okay. And in each one of these groups, we have what you would call a active and a passive way. That means the person can be actively doing it, or it could be passively happening to them. They're letting the action happen to them versus them doing the action. Okay, so these are things we've already gone over, but just we always got to keep that in mind. And you don't want to lose sight of what they're talking about, because when you just look at the letters and stuff, you can get confused. So you got to know the puzzle. Okay, group number 3 will have 3 dots underneath it, like this. It'll look like that, where they put all 3 dots together to give it one line, or 3 dots like that. Or it might look also like this, which the Y right here counts as 2 dots, 1, 2, and then the last one, and they just connect it together, and then that's when they create the little Y, and they put the dot right there. Okay, and this one right here would be 2 bigger dots, and then they put the 3rd dot, and so they connect it together, and then they connect that together, and that's where you get this signal right here. Okay, and they also talk about their sounds. So what we're talking about is what we see. So we got to understand what these sounds are too, and you'll get a hold of the sounds later, which you got to keep practicing. And we also learn that the present tense can act like a verb or a noun. And what that means is that this language is very active. Okay, it's very diverse when it comes to verbs, because verbs can be a noun, right? And not just only in the present tense, right? But it can switch, meaning, like, for example, I could use a verb like this, for example. I could put up a word called a call. Okay, and what does a call mean?
To eat.
That's
Oh,
to
no,
eat, right?
eat.
Yeah, to eat. But also, and so that is the actual verb, right? But if I want to talk about it as a noun, what would it be? If I was going to say, well, this ain't an action anymore, this is a noun. This is something. All you got to do is connect the action to what they're doing. So if they're eating, what would they eat?
Food.
Food. So the same word that it means to eat can be the same word that's used for the food that they are eating. This can be your noun. That's the beauty of the language. That's why it's so dynamic, because I don't need 1,000 words. You know, if you give me a good 300 to 400 words, I can change those words in 21 different ways, past, present, and future. Not only can I change it in 21 different ways, I could take that one word, that one root, and I can make it happen 21 different ways. And what do I mean by 21? Well, actually more than 21, 28. Okay. What do I mean by 28? Well, this is what I mean. If I have group 1, group 2, group 3, and group number 4, and each one of these categories, which is simple, active, forceful, causative, and a reflexive, in each one of these groups here, I have 7 different ways to do it. I got 7 different ways. Okay. So what am I saying? If I got group number 1, I could do group number 1. I could do it in it's not just simple, but group number 1 means that I can have group number 1 in the past. I can have it in the present, and I can have it in the future. Okay. And in that, in each one of these little areas here, okay, I can have it active, or I can have it passive. Okay. And that's for all these groups. Right. So I can have it passive, I can have it active. Okay. I can have it any of those ways, whatever it is. So there's several different ways that you can do it. And this is not counting the different types of conjugations. And conjugations basically means how is this verb or this action taking place? What kind of frame is it in? Not just, is it in a simple way? Is it a absolute? Is it in a construct phase? Is it an infinitive construct? Is it a imperative? What type of command is it? It is a first person command, second person command, third person command. What is it? Is it a state of being? You know, what is it? So there's several different ways that you can do that. So the beauty of the language is you could take one word, okay? And from an agricultural standpoint, you could take this one word, a call, and you could go ahead and plant that. Go plant it. What do I mean go plant it? Why would I say go plant this?
Because it's a seed.
Because it's a seed, okay? And so it has, and this is called a root, right? That's what they call it. They call it a root. So listen to the agricultural terms that they're using. It's a root. They didn't make that up. They know what it means. In this root right here, there's 3 letters. And out of these 3 letters, one of them is a child root. So what letter is it?
Aleph.
The aleph is the child root. So if I take the aleph out, I got this left, just as the Qaf and the lamed. That means all. And that means the palm of the hand. That means to be tamed. Okay. So there's all kind of ways we can do this. So what you would do is you would plant. The parents are the what they call a parent root. So I could take that parent root of the Qaf and the lamed, and I'm going to plant them in the ground. Okay. Here's the ground. I'm going to take these 2 letters and I'm going to plant them as the seed into the ground. Okay. That's who the parents are. The parents are going to take root. What's going to come up out of that root is a little thing like this. And where did this little stalk come from? It came from the Qaf and the lamed. So what they did is they said, well, let's make that stalk and call that the aleph. That's the aleph right here. That's an aleph. Okay. So when you put it together, that aleph, out of these 2 parents right here, they can add the aleph to them, and then the aleph will become the word a call. Just like you could take that aleph and not only put it in the front of the word, you could put it right here in the middle of the word. You could put it at the end of the word. There's those 3 locations that aleph can move around. So a call. See, I'm not just teaching you the grammar, I'm trying to get you to understand what's going on, because if you understand what's going on, you'll be like, okay, I get it. I know why they're using these letters. So let's just take this word, for example, a call. Okay, here, let me forget that. A call is this. Oh, and that could be to eat. Okay, that's what it means, a verb. We're talking about a verb. I can then turn around, and if that's one plant, that's one stem that just came out of the ground, I can then go plant the same 2 seeds again over here. And they're not going to have an aleph. I mean, they're not going to have a call. They might have a call. They're going to have this now. The little stem are going to come out. They said, we want another kid. Well, that kid turns out and says, okay, well, this one has both of us in them. Me and you, we're together. We're still together. So what's going to happen now? Oh, well, we'll have this other child. And guess what? He's going to be right here. That's a different root. It's a different child root. But they're related. Why are they related?
Because of the parents.
They're related because of the parents. Then they say, you know what? Let's go do some more planting. So they plant another child, another seed here. They say, we want to get, we want to get busy. So here it is. So we got another one now. Check this out. Listen to this. So we got another one. Okay. That came out. And we just keep having these alephs for whatever reason. So the parents have another one. And this one here is the Qaf. The aleph will be in the middle because that's where it could be located. And then the lamed will be at the end. They're all related. These might be 2 different things. They might mean something different, but their meaning has a connection to the parents. It has some type of way to be connected. So depending on where that aleph falls, will change the root name. But they might change their definition, but they have some commonality. It might mean the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happens. And then after they say, the parents say, you know what? We want some more kids. So guess what? They plant another seed. Okay. And this one that comes out of there, what's another child root? Remember, there's 4 of them.
Hey,
Thank you. So the next one's a hey. So let's have a child. Okay, great. We planted another one. So then they plant another one. And this one right here turns out to be a Kaf, a Lamed, and a Hey. And that means Kala. And that means bread. You see? So the connection between eating and bread, yes. You see? Also means to complete, depending on how you look at it, right? So Kala. Then they say, you know what? We want another child. So they have another one. So what happens? They plant the Kaf and Lamed again. They're at it again. This time, they turn around and say, let's have another one. And then what comes out? Do you get to pick what kind of child you get? Those of you who have children, do you get a chance to pick what kind of child is coming out?
no.
No. So they don't get to pick if it's an aleph. They don't get to pick if it's a hey. They don't get to pick if it's a yod. They don't get to pick if it's a wah. So now they say, well, we have another child. Well, this child came out, and this one is a Kaf. And so let's start with a hey first. A hey, a Kaf, and a Lamed. And guess what this is? That's a tent, a hakel. Well, where would you eat your food? In a tent. Where would you live? In a tent. Where does a bride go? In a tent. Where do they consummate the marriage? In a tent. What do they do after they're finished? They go eat. See? So a root can just take a form of, it's a family. It's a family of letters. You understand? So when we look at this, it can happen any kind of way. So that child root, that H, that hey, can move to the front. It can move to the end. It can move anywhere. It can be right there in the middle. It could be right here. Kahal, versus Hakel, right? That's what it is. You can also, too, have what they call a geminate, which is a child, a parent root, and then and this is the second letter. So we got a Kaf. Let me just erase some of this stuff. I think you guys are getting what I'm saying about a root. That's very important. They don't teach that in this book, of course, because they're just worrying about the grammar and, they understand where the letters go and all that kind of stuff. But the agricultural perspective is what you need to look at, because you want to find out, well, what did they do here? What are they trying to communicate to me? They're just trying to let you know, when we put this letter right here, when these letters are put here and these sounds are put here, it's for a reason. But you want to look at what the root is doing. Okay. So these letters are determining what the root will do. The root will never change. If that's in a call, it'll never change. That's the child. It will never, ever change. Well, you move the aleph in the middle. Did it change? No, this is a whole nother child. Well, the aleph's at the end. That's another child. It's another child. This is another child. It's another child. They'll never change. Once you have a child, you can't change them. But what you can do, my point is, now that the root is growing, because these are roots, once these roots have taken place and they've coming out of the ground based on their parents, they have to operate a certain way now. They have to live a certain way. They have to grow a certain way. They have to do certain things. And so what determines what they do is determine what's added to them, whatever letters are used to make them do something. Okay. So the letter mem is water. And it means from, because that's where you go to go get the water, from the stream or from the river or from the ocean. That's the reason you have to leave from your tent to go get the water. Okay. So there's some type of connection between the letter mem because they have to have a reason why they're putting it there. Remember, the noon means a seed, and it means to continue, right? And how does a seed continue? Right? And so they're using every time we turn around, they're using a seed or the noon for a seed, and they're using it for we, or they're using it for us on the end of a word, or they're using it to say that it was a very passive thing that happened. Why? Why would they use the letter noon to be passive? And you think about a seed. Why?
Because it's planted.
Yes, it's planted, but the seed is passive. The seed is passive. The seed does not do anything until something is put on it. Something has to make it do something. It has to be planted. It needs water. You understand? That's what it needs. So it's passively waiting for something to happen to it. That's why they're using that letter noon. You see? So when we put these pieces together and we understand the nature of the language from a agricultural perspective, we will find, oh, wow, wait a minute. This is the reason why the Most High has used these letters. So it's not like they just randomly pick these letters. So we're going to make the letter mem a present tense. We're going to make the noon a passive letter. We're going to make the tav, right? So if the tav is a future tense letter, why use the tav? What does the tav mean from an agricultural perspective? Remember, it's the two sticks that are put together.
Marker.
Right? So the two sticks make the what? It's the mark. It's called for your destination. It's to bring you to a certain place. To bring you to a certain location. That's why they use it for the Aleph Tav. The Aleph Tav is a direction object marker that's pointing you to the destination. It's called the strong mark. So what they've done here, the Aleph is an ox, that they take that ox and they drive that ox all the way down the field to its destination, which is the Tav, which is the two sticks. It's the mark. So that's the reason why they're using the Aleph Tav for a direct object marker. This is the reason why they're using the Tav to mean you, because you are the one who's going there. You're the one doing it. Why are they using the Aleph for I? Is it because it's the first letter in the alphabet? Number one, or is it simply because you're talking about strength? One has to possess that for themselves, right? So first letter in the alphabet, it represents strength, okay? I told you already about the yod. The yod is the hand. That means he. He what? He possesses. He has his hand on it. He's working it. You understand? That's why every time we turn around and read the Torah, it's like, why yo mer? And he said, talking about the Most High. Okay. So those are the things that you need to look at and understand in this language. Now, it's not in the homework and stuff that I've given you. I just wanted to kind of open you up. It's like, let me look at this a little bit differently. So I'm not just looking at the letters. Oh, that's the name of it right here. Oh, that's the ta. Okay, so I got that. No. What does it mean? You see? So when we find that connection, that's what we do. So we learned that the present tense can act like a verb or noun, which we just talked about. So they're telling you grammatically that, ani shomer, said the same identical thing. But one is describing the action being done, and the other one is describing the person or the thing doing the action. So I am guarding. I'm doing the action. I am a guard. See? The person is guarding is a guard. The person that's baking is a baker. The person that's fighting is a warrior. You see? So that's what they're saying there. So they're telling you that's the two different ways that it could be utilized as a verb and a noun. Okay? So here in this part right here, they're talking about your table, your present tense table. As we see, again, these are nothing but your identifying signs. that tell you exactly what letters mean what. Okay. And as you notice, they have 7 forms. So in group number 1, they have 7 forms. Group number 2, they have 7 forms. Group number 3, they have 7 forms. Group number 4, they have 7 forms. 4 times 7 is 28. You see? And in each one of those groups, you got 7 forms. In each one of those groups, you have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They count this as 7 different ways. Be active, passive, and simple. Active, passive, and forceful. Active, passive, and causative. Active and passive on oneself. You see? So, and that happens in all groups, group 1, 2, 3, and 4. But in every group that you have, and let me not be confusing here, in your present tense table, you have 7 groups. In your future tense table, you have 7 groups. In your past tense table, you have 7 groups. See how things can multiply? So, looking at the root word again, a call can be done in the past tense. It can be done in the present tense. It can be done in the future tense. In all these different ways. So one word can be utilized several different ways. So going back to that being the root that came out of the parent's call, right? Because you got the parent, I'll put it as PR. You got the parent root, and then you got the root, a call. So now that this is coming up here, a call is now going to grow and start doing some things. And then what it does is it starts developing different characteristics. And each one of those characteristics can be in the first group, second group, third group, fourth group. That's what it becomes a tree. So if you master your planting of one seed here and understand this right here, if you understand call, then anything that's added to call, you would know, okay, I know what a call is. Oh, it has a parent in it. That's called. That means to tame. Okay, I get it. I understand. Because even food needs to be tamed, because the food we're talking about is not processed. This food is all natural, right? So all these little branches that you see in my little tree that's coming out of the stalk is a call. Let me make a clear distinction right here. The stalk is a call. This is a call. Every one of these branches is taking on one of these forms, active or passive. This one can be active. This one could be passive over here. This can be group number 1. This can be group number 3. This can be absolute, This one here could be infinitive absolute. See? So that's what we're talking about. So when you have all these seeds and you're planting them, and the more vocabulary you have, that means that you've planted a lot. So once you start planting, what do you got to do? In your garden, what do you have to do?
Water it.
You got to water it, but you also got to take care of it. So you got to prune it, you got to, and then it comes the time for harvest. And you have to understand what you planted. That's what Yah's saying. So you see that the beauty in the language is far beyond just this grammatical stuff, okay? It's good to remember these things because you're going to have to know them, but I want you to get the most out of it, okay? So as you can see, they're going to give you a table there. It's telling you how something is being done. That was there, okay. Here, again, they have the 7 forms. And I think in my teaching today, I talked about why 7. Why did the Most High use 7 different ways? Why? It's all connected. Because it's Yah's language, it's his oath, it's his way of talking to us, right? And he talks to us through agriculture. So here, group number 1, simple, forceful, causative, on oneself. 7 different ways it could be done, okay? Now it says this. Over here, it says that it could be not made, but used in 4 different ways. Here's your 4 ways here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This one right here, I need first person. That means I. Ata, second person. Who, third person. All these are males. Ani and ani right here is a common, first person common, singular. Okay. This is second person, feminine, singular. Third person, feminine, singular. So if you notice, and up here is the masculine, right? Here's the common masculine. Common here, and then masculine singular. And then masculine singular. So one man right here, one woman right here, more than one man right here, and more than one woman. All of those equal 12. So when you get that, you understand that's what they're talking about. The way that you can actually use it. You can use it in 4 different ways, in 4 different ways, but in each one of those categories, you have 3 different areas that you have to deal with: first person, second person, third person. All right, those are your identifying signs. Here, let's do an exercise right quick. All right, so in this exercise, and I'll let you go after this, please glance at the following present tense verbs and tell me which group they are in. If they are in the active or passive form of the group, identifying signs that led you to your conclusion. So the first example for the word mashabareth, okay, mashabareth. Please write out what I'm asking you, which is, tell me what group it's in. Tell me if it's active or passive. I don't want to know what the word means. Not at this moment. That's not what we're doing here. What we want to know is what these dots mean and what these signs are. Okay. So the example they gave to us is the 2 dots under the mem tells us in group number 2. Group number 2 is a forceful action. And then what is the other identifying sign? Is the 3 little dots, the second letter, or what they would call a pathak, is active, because everything has to be either active or what?
Passive.
Passive. Thank you. So in those 2, and that's how actions are done, and that's never going to change. You can't be, well, I'm active and I'm passive, unless you're Hithpael. Okay. So someone doing an action, they can't be active and passive towards someone else. They can only be active or passive towards their own self. So that's something we can learn from. Praise the mighty Yah. Let me slow my tongue down. You can be active and passive on yourself. That's what it's called, the Hithpael, right? You could do an action on oneself. That can happen. You could do that. All other areas, you can't do that. You got to either be doing the action or you got to be receiving the action from all those other groups. But there's only one group that you can, is called group number 4, which is a Hithpael, meaning to do on oneself. So what are we to understand about what we can do for ourselves? What we can do for ourselves, everyone, is what other people necessarily can't do. Listen, a Hithpael is something that you can do only on yourself. If you're going to do an active action, you're going to take some type of action, you can take action on someone else, okay? Or you can receive the action, okay? So it's an exchange, right? Either, so if I'm active, right? Say I'm actively doing something to you, then what are you? If I'm active, what are you?
Passive.
You're passive. If you're active, then what am I?
Passive.
Passive. And so this is what we need to understand about action, and what about not only just this term verb, but we need to understand what this really means. Okay. Now, if someone wants to do something to themselves, they can both be active and passive. So what is the Most High letting us know? He's letting us know that nobody can force you to do anything. They could try to do, you could be passively receiving something. You could passively receive the action, But in terms of somebody doing something to you, the only person that can do something to you is you. From that sense, if you wanted to, if you had to feed yourself, that's active passive. You fed yourself. You clothe yourself. You got to take care of yourself. Okay. You see? So we have to understand that. So let me ask you a question. If you did an action on somebody and you're actively doing, they're passively receiving the action, do they necessarily have to receive it?
No.
No, they can actually what? Reject it.
Reject it.
Yeah. So okay. So they can reject your action. So to be passive means that you've allowed them to do something for you. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
See, so that's different. Okay. So it's letting us know we're getting insight about what active and passive really means. So every time something's happening to us, you have to ask yourself, am I being active here or am I being passive? If I am being passive, am I allowing myself to be passive? And if I don't want them to do that action on me, right, and I don't want to receive it from them, then I must do it myself. Because the Most High tells us in our Torah that there's certain things that you and I have to do that he's not going to do, okay? Matter of fact, I'm going to close with this. He says that you must confess and admit. This is in Leviticus chapter number 26, verse number 40, I believe. You have to confess and admit that they went against me. That's what they have to do. And the confess and the admit part is a hithpael. So the Most High is not causing a person, okay, it's a hithpael. He's not causing, because causative is a hifel. Yah is not causing a person to confess, and he's not causing a person to admit. He's saying this is something you have to do on yourself. So what does a hithpael really mean? What does a doing an action on oneself really mean? It means that one has to take responsibility for themselves. That's what a hithpael is. You can't wait for somebody to feed you. You can't wait for somebody to clothe you. You can't wait for that. You have to do it yourself. You can't wait for Yah to move you to confess. You wonder why we're still in exile. Yah said he's just waiting. I'm just waiting for Israel to say that they're sorry. That's all I'm waiting on. Then I would move quick and expediently. I would destroy all their enemies. It's because Israel hasn't taken the idea of a hithpael. That's all I wanted to share with you. Okay. I'm going to send this over to you too. This is a little chart that I want you to fill out. What this is called, like what you would say, parsing. Okay. A parse means that you're going to be able to take this word or your root, because what they're asking for is, I want you to tell me what the root of the word is. I want you to tell me what tense it's in. I want you to tell me what person's in. Do this exercise. Don't cheat. Do this one. Okay. I am going to give you the answers, because I always give people the answers because that's how I learned. Identifying, I want to know what the identifying sign. So really try, and then if you don't get it, then go back to the back of the book, put a piece of paper that you can't see through over all the other answers. And if you can't get it, just slide the paper down and see what it is. You're also going to look for the group that it's in. You're going to find out it's active or passive. And then you're also going to look at the meaning of the root, and then you're going to see the exact translation. So what do you have? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things that you need to get out of this one word. And that's going to make you super duper sharp. That's what I'm saying. Don't pass on this one. Okay. So the first one, they told you what it was. Second one, what's the root? Give me the 3 letters.
Bar.
There you go. That's the root right there. What is its tense?
Future.
Why do you say that?
Because of the tau and the yod at the end.
Yes. Okay. What person is it? Is it a female, masculine? What is it? Plural, singular?
female singular.
Thank you. So you've been doing your homework. You sharp. It's feminine singular. Good. And then identifying sign to tell you what the why you knew it was in the future tense.
The two dots.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you. Under the top. Thank you. And what group is that?
Group number 2.
Group number 2, because it has 2 dots, which is what is it? Is it forceful or is it causative? What is it? What group 2? What's group 2?
Group 2 is forceful.
Forceful. And then you have next for the pass. Is it passive or is it active? Let me erase this over here so you can see, because I got it blocked.
Mhm.
Is it
Passive.
is passive? Okay. So how do you know it's passive?
Because of the, well, I think because of the 3 dots under the
Thank
second
you.
letter.
Thank you so much. There you go. And then, right? And then you forceful. And then so the meaning of the root is if it's forceful and something to break, then we know it's being what?
Is it
Okay.
will break?
Is smashed.
Oh, smash, forceful.
Yeah, because it's forceful. Okay. So let me give you guys another clue before you go. One of the ways that I can remember that is something is a forceful way is very simple. I'm going to show it to you so you'll always know this. If you look at the root word, okay, and it has a dot inside of that letter, that letter right there,
Mhm.
you know that's forceful. Okay, that's called a Dagesh forte. Okay, when you see this, that dot, that tells you that it's forceful. Just like when I look on here, I know that's masculine. Just like here, I know that that's you know, I know what it is. So when I see this dot, that means I'm putting great emphasis on it. Listen, that dot means emphasis. It means double up. Remember, double up the word to shubari, to shubari, because that's not to shub. This is to shubari. So I'm doubling up. I'm making that hard B sound twice. Because why? Because it's intense. So the reason why you can say it's intense is because how it sounds. And how does it sound? Based on what's in that letter. So that's why those dots are there to indicate what kind of sound should I make? Should I make a soft sound like I got right here? Shavaru. That doesn't sound intense, does it? Shavaru. Does that sound intense? No. If I say shabaru, 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 right? Shabbaru, shabaru. That's different. That's intense. If I say shavaru, shavaru, see, that lets me know that's a very simple way. That's not hard. Okay. So you look at those and you go over that and you just practice. And of course, you'll get it. So what they're trying to get you to understand is finding the root and telling you if it's past, present, or future. You should know something is the past because it's on the what? Where's the letter at?
And
It's on the end. There you go. And that top right there means what?
Destination.
Yeah. So it means you. You understand? And a call. Okay. But I also see something too. It has a dot inside of that cough. And I have the 3 dots that tells me that it's passive. So what kind of way was this done? And it means to eat, but what type of way is this being done?
Forceful.
Yeah, so guess what they're doing? They're devouring. So really, if you look at it, you were devoured. You see that?
Hmm.
You were devoured. Because a call means eat, but that dot right there, call. I said it twice, so it's intense. Okay. What's the difference between these two? They got the same letters. What's the difference?
it's the Harik under the Aleph, which is I, right?
Well, they're both I. So let's just, okay. So for example, say I got rid of all this stuff right here. Got rid of all of it. They look exactly alike, don't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're exactly like, same letters and everything. Right? So now do you see the reason why they're putting these markings underneath here? Because what it is changing the sound. So when you change the sound, listen carefully, you can change a sound to being simple sound, or you can change it to be forceful sound, or you can change it to a causative sound. So the letters represent sound, or these little dots, excuse me, represent sounds. So these sounds, I can either do it actively or I can do it passively. So I could take the same root and I can change it. Remember, I told you can change this over 28 different ways. So those sounds are the 28 different sounds, not just you can change it 28 different ways on paper. It could be said 28 different sounds. So it could be ukolta, it could be ikolta, it could be akolta, it could be akilta, it could be a lot of different sounds. You see? It could be hith occulti. Okay? It could be any of those things. So this one right here has that dot underneath that tells me it's still forceful because there it is in that dot there. So this one here is just a forceful devouring. But what was the difference between this one and this one based on the first signal underneath it? What does that mean versus this one? Because they
This one
both.
One is passive and one is active.
Thank you. See, because remember, that's all we're talking about. Either something could be passive or it could be active in any of our 6 different ways. In our 6, okay, in our 6 different ways, okay. And what do I mean by 6? Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here, that's active and passive. That's group number 1. Active and passive, group number 2. Active and passive, group number 3. It's group 1, group number 2, and group number 3. Why did I not include group number 4? I include group 4 simply because it could be active and passive at the same time. Okay, so everything is going to either be active or it's going to be passive. It's going to be first person, second person, third person. Either it's going to be male or female. Either it's going to be singular or plural. That's all it is. So these letters represent those things that we're looking for. That's the reason why they're asking you for these items up here. So you can break down if you can chop the root up and you can take this word, when you read it, you won't be tripping no more. You'll be like, okay, I know what that is. Got that vocabulary. That's my root. I already planted it. I know what it is. Okay. Then you say, well, where's it? This is for just a little side note. Where's the parent and who's the child in this root? Who's the parent and child?
Shamar is a parent. Shin Vav or Vet Resh, right? That's a
Well,
parent.
here's the thing. There's only 4 letters for the child. So the child can be a aleph, a hey, a yod, and a wa. So where's those letters at? Where's these letters at? These are natural born children. So if they're not natural born, then what are they? When you can't have a kid, what do you go do?
Adopt.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Go out and go out and adopt a child. This is an adopted root. So what you have to do, of course, is go to your lexicon, okay? And you got to find out who's the parent. They'll tell you who the parent is. But this is an adopted root. We know it's adopted because none of these natural born children are there. You see, it's not a yod, there's not a hey, it's not a wa. So it's adopted. Why is that important to know? Well, because when you look at a word, you'll be able to know automatically. Like, okay, okay, here you go. You want to get accustomed to doing that, because when you have to look up words, you'll be like, I won't waste my time trying to figure out if it's a natural born child, because the letter for a natural born child is not there. So when I look at this root right here, who's a child?
Olive.
Thank you. So automatically, if it's a call, I know that's the child. So I'll just take that out and, oh, that's call. And call by itself means all, and it also means to be tamed. So I know that. So then I got my root that says alcohol. Okay. But if it's not any of those letters, I'll be like, that's an adopted root. Doesn't mean that they don't have a family, just means that they're adopted. And, you know, when you go have to do your research to find out, like, where does this letter come from and what does it mean? It doesn't mean that they're less than, it just means that they're adopted. So you're not going to find them amongst the natural born children. Okay. There's adopted roots as well. What other part I want to tell you before I let you go? Talk call, may I call? Okay. This one on the bottom. This last one. This one here. So what is the root?
Star.
A child.
Yes. Okay. That's the root. And if you notice, I don't have any dots or nothing. So I'm just looking for the root. Okay. Quashar. Okay. Quashar. It has a T on the end. So what person is that? First person, second? First, second, or third?
First.
First, thank you. So first person. This is just information I'm asking for. They didn't ask to tell you what the person was at this point, I don't think. Yeah, they did. They sure did. Is it masculine or feminine?
Feminine.
Why would you say it's feminine?
Because of tall
Where?
at the there at the in
This top right here is, if I say Shamarti, right? I say Shamarti. Could a female say Shamarti?
yes.
She can, and she's talking in first person. First person what? Common. If I say Ani, right? If I say Ani, like we read earlier, Ani is a first person common, singular. This is a first person common, singular. That's what that is, because anybody can say I. See? And then, of course, the text will tell you whether it's male or female, like who's saying it. Okay. So Shamarti, I. Okay. We said we. That is can be a first. This could be a first person common plural. Okay. So that right there lets us know that this is an individual. I don't know what this in particular root is. Forgive me for this, but I'm concerned about those first two letters. What does first two letters tell you? What group is that? 1, 2, or 3, or 4?
Fourth.
That's 4. Okay. See? So those are the things you're looking for. So what it is, everyone, is we're doing this. We're just chopping down the root. That's all it is. It's chopping down the root and seeing what's in front of it and what's in the back or what's in the middle. That's all you're doing. Because if you understand your root that you planted from its parents, then you know the stem that's coming out of here is going to have something to do with eating, and eating could be a food, it could be anything. You understand? So that's what it is. Any questions? Hope I didn't keep you guys too long.
No, thanks.
No.
So
Blah,
much.
blah, blah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to send you over this, and I'm going to send you the answers. Okay. So you can get it. All right, here's the answers over here. Okay, so there's your answer sheet. It's going to break every single detail down for you. But I want you to cover it. I want you to put a piece of paper over line number 2 where you can't see it, and then just go through it. And don't try to do it in one day. If you get excited, that's fine. But just do it for like 3 to 5 minutes and stop, and then go back and do it again. So if it takes you a couple of days, that's fine. Because I want you to understand the process of why they're asking these things. Okay, it's not just, I'm not giving you the answers because you're cheating. It's not cheating, it's learning. And I think if we were to have learned this way, things would be a lot different for us. Things would be a lot different. People withhold information and try to get you to be, of course, it's good to learn and be inquisitive and all that. But there's a certain type of learning that requires a person to have something that they can look at. Plus, you're learning on your own, which makes it a little bit more difficult. So you're not in a classroom setting, right? In that sense, like we can interact with each other, you're by yourself. So when you're by yourself, you'll find out the answer and you'll be like, okay, and you'll begin to ask yourself, well, why? Why is it this? And then you start looking at it, you're like, oh, I got it. I got it. It makes sense now. Okay. Yeah, that's the reason why. And if you don't know, don't just say, okay, I got the answer. You go and say, okay, well, that's a future tense. So why is that 2 dots under the future tense? And you go back and look at your future tense lessons. You're like, oh, okay, I understand now. So you're always going to go back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. Praise the mighty God. Thank you guys for sharing your time with me today. Greatly appreciate you. And until next time, I say shalom.
Shalom.